Jay here, Stratford Paddock. Got that wrong, didn't I? Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio, so make sure you do get involved with the comments and the chat because we are live. We're going to be talking about Wout Weghorst. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's what I've been told anyway. Someone said it was Vote. Someone said it's Wout. Let us know if you know the answer to that. Whether he's going to be playing in the Manchester derby. We're also going to be talking about Old Trafford. There's a story regarding the rebuild, the revamp, whatever you want to call it, of United Stadium. Whether that is going to go ahead, whether the plans have been shelved because of the change in ownership, just what the latest is there. Whether we're going to have the Apple Arena or the iPod Arena. We'll get into all that as well as a couple of transfer stories. It looks like there could be a few players heading out the exit door. Not quite yet, though. It looks like there's going to be a summer sale, a summer frenzy with up to 4, maybe even 5 players leaving. And also, we're going to have a Milinkovic-Savic story because I think we need to have a Milinkovic-Savic story on this channel at least once a week. And we've not had one this week, so we'll get into that as well. Make sure you're getting involved. Let us know what you think about all the latest stories. Whether you want to see Wout Weghorst make his debut. I'll get into that in a minute. Santa Notch says, London on his mind, lol. Yeah, Stratford, what is going on there? Joyka Trot says, morning, Jay. James Kellen says, so happy we didn't loan Felix. Did you see that last night? Chelsea were away at Fulham, I think it was, wasn't it? And Felix got a red card. So apparently, like, he's available. He was available for 21 games, and now he's available for 18 or something. You know what I mean? He's suspended for 3 games on this low move. To be fair to him, he was playing well until he got his red card, but now he's suspended for 3 games. Chelsea lost last night. More pressure on Graham Potter, having a bit of a stinker there, isn't he? He's a very good manager at Brighton, and I think he is in general a good manager, but it's not working out for him at Chelsea for whatever reason. Whether the players just aren't responding to his methods, whether the players are just, some of them are sort of at that point where the form's taking a dip. He has got a couple of players who are the wrong side of 30 as well. Not that that makes you old, but you're not on your way up. You tend to be on your way down, depending on, you know, the situation and how long you've got left in the tank. So it's just one of those at Chelsea. They're imploding. It's great to see from a Manchester United point of view because it's kind of taken them out of the top 4 race. I am down this season as a team that you'd expect to be in the top 4 because they just generally do, don't they, Chelsea? No matter what they do with the managers, who's in charge, they tend to make the top 4. Plus, you've got Todd Boehly buying everyone he can, just playing Championship manager. Yet now that result leaves them in 10th. I'm just having a look now. So they're, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, so they're 10 points behind us, and we've got a game in hand on them. So they've got it all to do, haven't they, Chelsea, really? I mean, I'm not saying they're out of it. You can always go on a run. Stranger things have happened. But that's a big gap that to make up at this stage of the season as well. Only 18 games in. Yeah, it's just, it is a bit of a weird one. And you have to wonder how long Graham Potter's got left because he's at 2 wins out of his last 9 games or something like that. It's not a great run at all. And when you look at it, you're going away at Fulham. Fulham, who, you know, a decent team, have done well under Marco Silva. But when you're losing relatively comfortably, really, to them, I know it wasn't, you know, by a cricket score or anything like that, but I don't think Chelsea looked that much like winning that game, to be fair. Then, yeah, you're in all sorts of mither. But anyway, who cares? Should we move on? Should we talk about Wout Weghorst? The latest sort of news is, you can see it there, when United needs to register Weghorst for him to make debut versus City, Weghorst will need to complete his move to United by midday if he is to be involved against City tomorrow. United are eager to have the Dutch striker in time for the upcoming derby clash, but must have him registered before the Premier League squad deadline in just under 5 hours. So he's almost sorted his deal. He's almost completed it. It's just now a bit of a race against time to see whether we can get him done in the next, basically, 90 minutes for him to be given a chance against City. I don't expect him to start against City. I think if he's available, though, you'd have him on the bench, wouldn't you? 100%. Because he's a different type of striker. Plus, we haven't really got that many attacking options. That's one of the reasons we're bringing him in. You look at who's likely to start tomorrow. I expect it to be something like Martial, Rashford and Antony. Maybe someone makes way for Garnacho. Maybe Andy's rested for Garnacho. I doubt it, though. I think that's going to be your front 3. But then when you look at the bench, you've got Garnacho, you've probably got Elanga. I don't know what's happening with Jadon Sancho. there's not a lot, is there? In terms of strikers, there's practically no one out-and-out strikers. So to have Weghorst on the bench would be a massive boost. And I think that he'd offer you something different, especially if you're chasing the game. Not even if you're chasing the game. Even if you wanted someone to come on and just keep possession, hold it up, press from the front. He's good at all those things as well. He's not just a big lump. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Get involved in the comments. Do you want to see him starting tomorrow? Not starting tomorrow. Featuring tomorrow? Do you think he will? I mean, it's how long's a piece of string, isn't it? To be honest with you, unless you're involved in these talks with Manchester United and getting the deal over the line, I don't know if we can know. I know there's a few people online on social media who are saying they're ICK and they reckon the deal's going to be done in time, but we'll have to wait and see. Hind Craig says, doesn't hurt to have him on the bench if available. Brenaldinho says, Big Wouters is a pressing machine. Ten Hag knows what he's getting. In Ten Hag we trust. I agree with that. In Ten Hag we trust. I think the manager now, even though it's only been, 6 months or whatever, I think he's shown he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing in the transfer market. He knows what he's doing with his squad. So if he wants this kid, I'm all for it. He wasn't top of my list. He wasn't someone in the summer I was going, we've got to get Wout Weghorst. Or even when it looked like Ronaldo was going to go, I didn't think, we must get him. But it makes sense that we are if the manager wants him. And he is a different type of player. You want a striker who's going to offer you something different to what you've already got. Martial and Marcus Rashford are our two main strikers, really, aren't they? Sometimes Marcus plays down the middle. Sometimes he plays on the left with Martial down the middle. Similar-ish, not identical, but the sort of relatively quick, tricky, good on the ball, likes getting behind. Weghorst is a little bit different, and I think that's good. I was talking about this the other day, and it's like, if you're bringing off a striker from the bench who's completely different to the players who are already playing, it gives the defender a new problem to deal with. All of a sudden, he's got to play against a player who's completely different to the one he's been playing against all game, and it can be, a difficult time for a defender. So I like this idea. We'll have to wait and see, though, what happens. As always, we'll keep you posted, so make sure you are watching our socials. If you've not done already, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit like, share, and subscribe. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers by, the Carabao Cup final. Hopefully we'll be there. I'll get to the Carabao Cup in a minute as well. So with your support, we can do that as well. Hit that like button. Almost 850 people watching. 71 likes. Come on, let's get to 200 likes. Red UK says, if he's eligible, I think he'll play. Dale Gibson says, morning, Jay. I think we'll register him in time. Ten Hag will have him on the bench to bring him on if needed for the last 30 minutes or so, I think. C. Jones says, we have said for ages that the club needs to get players for the system, not just big names. I like that. Just Joe. Jay, who's your dream summer striker signing? Dream? Kylian Mbappe. If I could get anyone, I think, get him in. Not going to happen, though, is it? The Harry Kane thing seems to have a little bit of legs. A little bit. I've always been completely dismissive of the chances of Harry Kane coming to Manchester United, and I'm still very, very sceptical. If that happened, I'd be happy. I think you get a couple of seasons out of him at least, and I think if you've got a Casemiro and a Harry Kane and a Bruno Fernandes and a Marcus Rashford and a Lisandro Martinez, then you've got a team there that should be challenging for titles. I quite like Osimhen, the kid of Victor Osimhen. I know his goal-scoring record's not phenomenal, but he seems like the kind of player that you get behind. It's a bit of a fan's favourite. The injury record does worry me a little bit. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, because who knows? And I don't know what's going to happen in terms of transfers and budget and all that sort of stuff. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll have new owners in by then and we'll have a bit of money to spend, but watch this space, as they say. Harry in the super chat says, Jay, we added you to our Facebook group. Respond, please. Sorry, I am awful on Facebook. I always miss things on Facebook, including like family birthdays and stuff. So I will have a look at that and get into your Facebook group. Awesome Wisdom says, Vlahovic, please. Simfex says, get me Vlahovic. Music Ali says, morning, Jay. You look good. Head looking extra shiny today. Thank you. Daniel Coe says, Jay, don't you think Chelsea are like United over the last 10 years with Moyes as manager, but the signings are Louis van Gaal? It makes sense, that, to be honest with you. It's a pretty good analogy. Yeah, I think you look at what's going on with Graham Potter, and it seems a little incongruous to what's going on with Todd Boehly. Graham Potter was known for sort of working on a bit of a budget, finding these gems, getting the best out of a relatively small squad, playing nice, expansive football. He goes to Chelsea, and it's all about big-name signings, lots of superstars, and it just doesn't seem to be marrying up very well, does it? It doesn't seem to be working, because you think that he's not the type of manager that probably suits that. And why they got rid of Thomas Tuchel, I know Tuchel was having a bit of a bad spell of it, and I've seen Chelsea fans speaking about this, but it does seem a little bit strange to me that Tuchel, who was well respected, who had won a Champions League there, was moved aside basically for Graham Potter, who, despite having lots of positive points about him, he's not really won anything. It just seemed a little bit weird. But that's the Chelsea sort of modus operandi, isn't it? That's how they did things under Roman Abramovich. They got rid of managers and they went out and got the best manager available. And you could argue that Potter was the best manager available. I'm not saying he's the best manager. I'm just saying the best you could have got. So it's kind of what they do. And it works for them. I think they're the most successful club in England in the last 20 years, I think, in terms of trophies and stuff. Or, yeah, something like that. I know, obviously, United have dominated for the 90s and the noughties. But over since, like, sort of, what we in? If you look at it since the Abramovich era onwards, I think they've won more titles and Champions Leagues and trophies, just trophies in general, than anyone else. I think that's what the stats say. Just had a bit of an update from producer Ethan. Says, news story just now. Manchester United set a mid-February deadline for takeover offers, with bids expected from the Middle East, Asia, USA, and British billionaire Sir Jim Ratcliffe, with the Glazers wanting at least $5 billion. So that's the latest. I think that was in the. That's it. You can see it there. That's come from the Daily Mail. That's just been published literally 20 minutes ago. With that, Manchester United, so expecting takeover offers from across the world as they set to invite bids ahead of mid-February deadline. Will that happen? I think this has come originally from the Telegraph. Actually, to be fair, I think this might be one of James Ducker's articles. Let us know what you think. Do you think we are gonna get a sale done by mid-February? I think the Q1 was the ultimate deadline, wasn't it? Which is what, end of March, beginning of April. Ed says best English manager, but not best available. He's talking about Graham Potter there. Clemens Davies says, you heard the news on Lewis Hamilton and Jim Ratcliffe. I think this is part of the story that we're covering now. Yeah, apparently Lewis Hamilton involved in some sort of consortium. It seems a bit of a strange one, that, but, he's obviously got a lot of money. He's got connections as well. Guess it kind of makes sense. Kevin Rees says, we haven't had a big physical back-to-goals target man centre-forward since Zlatan. Incidentally, that was the last time that we won any trophies. Good point. Should we move on anyway? We'll keep you posted with what's happening with the takeover. There's another story that sort of ties in with the takeover, and this is about the rebuild, the revamp, whatever you want to call it, of Old Trafford. Says here, again, this is coming from the Mail. This is Mike Keegan in the Daily Mail. It says Manchester United presented with plans for $1 billion rebuild of Old Trafford, a new $2 billion stadium on land surrounding the Theatre of Dreams, but expansion project is on hold with club up for sale. So we're having to wait and see what happens here, whether we're going to get a revamp or a rebuild. Now, I know this is quite a divisive topic amongst United fans. I'm in the minority, and I know I'm in the minority, and I know I'm going to get a load of stick for this, but I wouldn't mind seeing a new stadium. I love Old Trafford. I've been going to Old Trafford for 37 years, right? I've had some of the best moments of my life at Old Trafford, and I get the iconic stature of that stadium. However, I feel that if you build a new stadium, it's still going to be, the home of Old Trafford, the home of Manchester United. You're still going to have like the memories and the stature and the iconic nature of the club and everything there. The history of the club comes with it. Whenever you go to sort of new stadium abroad, whether you've been to the Allianz Arena or whatever, or Bayern Munich, or you go to Atletico Stadium, or you go wherever, I don't think that them moving to new stadiums means that they've lost their history. I personally don't. I get people are very much like, I don't want to see Old Trafford moved, destroyed, or whatever. The reason I'm more in favour of a rebuild or rather than a revamp is I just feel that a lot of Old Trafford, it seems like it's just not fit for purpose. You've got the stadium falling apart, a lot of the seats. I stand where I am in the TRA. I stand up. At half-time the other day, I had to sit down at half-time just to have a rest. Honestly, you couldn't even... I'm only like 5'11" or whatever. My knees were sort of right up against the seat. It was just untenable. You couldn't sit. If I wanted to sit, you couldn't. I know you say, you shouldn't sit at football or whatever. But at the time you're taking your kids or whatever, you want to sit down. It's just ridiculous. So I don't know. I just feel that it might be time for a new stadium. I get, though, I am in the minority and loads of people, I've had this discussion already, like, you don't rebuild Old Trafford, you revamp it. Either way, it needs sorting. Santa Note says, what are the chances of demolishing OT and building a new one in sight, but slightly away from the railway? Yeah, there's talk that maybe you could build a new one, use Old Trafford while you build a new one, because there's all the land near Old Trafford, and then once the new one's built, then you knock down Old Trafford. Or maybe even use Old Trafford, or on the site of Old Trafford, for some sort of an academy stadium. That'd be good, wouldn't it? You go to Manchester City, they've got their CFA stadium or whatever it is. They've got an academy stadium. If you want to go and watch the under-23s, if you want to go and watch I think the women's team as well, you have to go down to Lee Sports Village. It's just ridiculous. Manchester United should have a designated stadium for the academy team. We're going about our academy all the time. Why are we having to travel miles away to Lee Sports Village, which isn't even ours, to go and watch a team representing Manchester United? Makes no sense to me. We will keep you posted if there are any developments, pardon the pun, on the new stadium or anything else. What's next on the agenda, producer Ethan? Glazers struggling to sell. Is that what I'm seeing here? Yeah. If you scratch beneath the surface of this story here, it can go either way here. It says, Man United owners, the Glazers struggling to sell the club by deadline in new update. So the Glazers have said they want to sell by the end of the first quarter. And if you look at this story, it goes on to say, Manchester United owners, the Glazers plan to sell the club by the first quarter of 2023. And it's looking tight for that to happen. So it's not saying it's not going to happen. It's just saying it's looking tight. So, again, what does that mean? I always felt it was a little bit ambitious to try and sell it by the first quarter of 2023. When you look at the figures involved, people say, well, Chelsea sold relatively quickly. Chelsea had a deadline. Chelsea were in a rush because Abramovich, he's tied to Putin, the government sort of breathing down his neck about making the sale happen. He had to do it, and I think he wrote off a lot of debt or stuff. There was a reason that he was able to sell it relatively quickly. This is going to be different because there isn't this sense of urgency, although, you want to see the club being sold relatively quickly, certainly from the United point of view. There's all sorts of little caveats to this as well. There's things like the naming rights as well. So, sponsorship deals and all that sort of stuff that goes in with this. Excuse me. So we have to wait and see what happens. There could be naming rights to the stadium. We could have a new stadium, a new stadium, but also with a new name or with, some sort of sponsorship deal. We don't know what's going to happen there. People tend to not like change, and I'm kind of like that. So I think most people will be against that. Goes on to say this in the article. It says, the target to conclude a sale in the first quarter of 2023 is looking tight, but it's not untoward to say that United will have a new owner and front of shirt sponsor ready for the 23-24 season. You'd want a new owner in by the summer, really, if you're going to start making transfers, because I don't see the Glazers sanctioning any transfers, do you? If they're still in charge. We'll have to wait and see what happens, though. As always, we'll keep you posted. Let us know what you think. Do you think United are going to be sold by Q1? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. The Ermston Strangler says, up the Ethan. There you go, Ethan. You got a fan. Simfex says, years of milking, they still try to milk the max. Now they do, don't they? Hit that like button. Almost 1,300 people watching, not even 200 likes. Come on, let's get 300 likes on the board. You can do it, people. If you're watching, hit that like button. And don't forget as well to give us a subscribe. Fat Thor says, Jay, it seems we have a 300 million backlog if transfer fees to be paid. Woodward's legacy, the mess at our club is terrible. We need a proper owner to wipe out the debts, invest right, and back Ten Hag. Well said. I agree with all that. Woodward legacy, for me, is he almost wrecked the club with his just ridiculous attitude towards signings, no coherent policy, sticking his nose in where it weren't wanted, lack of football knowledge, this haphazard approach to managers, backing managers, not backing them, sacking them, having no progression in terms of the football and who succeeds each manager. There was just nothing. It was just like you were just throwing darts at a dartboard and seeing where they landed. It was ridiculous. And now we're in this situation where apparently we still owe a lot of money on transfers. We've still got all this debt, so we need the owners to come in and sort it out. Right, what else have I got for you? Milinkovic-Savic. I know it's his story, right? Milinkovic-Savic has been linked with Manchester United for, I think it feels like about 10 years, but I think it's about 2018 he was first linked with us. It looked like something was going to happen then. It didn't, obviously. But then he's been linked with us almost every year since. Now, he is a good player. I don't think there's any dispute in that. I think if you look at his record, I think he had a bit of a purple patch last season, actually, because he's a player who, he's got a bit of everything in that midfield. I wouldn't necessarily class him as a goal scorer, but last season he got 11 goals in Serie A, which is quite an impressive return. This season, 3 goals in 16 appearances, so not quite those numbers. But he's not just a goal scorer. Now, you can see there, he's out of contract in the summer of 2024 and has yet to be shown any signs of being prepared to commit his future to the club. So he could be available. Now, I kind of think if this was going to happen, it would have happened a few years ago. He's 27, so he's still got a few years left in him. He's a very good player. Does he come in to United in the summer? Maybe. maybe I think would be the answer there. I doubt it, if I'm being brutally honest. He's one of those players that whenever he's sort of, there's a story about him, United are mentioned in the same breath because he's been linked with us for so many times. I'd be surprised if it happens. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm just looking here, actually. I think there's a couple of other stories that have just come through. I'm just going to round up some stories that have just popped up whilst we've been talking, or just before we start talking. Apparently, Everton's have up their interest in United winger Anthony Elanga. I've just seen something there. I think that's on the evening news. Be interesting to see what happens there. He was getting pelters one of the other day, Anthony Elanga, for his performance against Charlton. He was just overplayed last season. Oh, there you go. Producer Ethan's on it. Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense to me, that one. Go on loan, try and get your confidence back, show us what you're about. If he does well at Everton, then you can say, okay, he's done well in the Premier League. He's good enough to at least be given a shot at Manchester United. The issue is that Everton are all over the gaff, and that could just be a bit of a bad move. Maybe, I hate saying this, but maybe even a Championship. Maybe going to Everton isn't the right move for him. Maybe he needs to go to somewhere a division below that and get his confidence back and shows what he's about, because he's still only 20 years old. I think if he goes to Championship, does well, and then comes back to Old Trafford, that could work. If he goes to Everton and does well, comes back to Old Trafford, that does well, that could work. I just wonder whether that might be a difficult move for him, because, like I said, Everton are really struggling, aren't they? Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about Anthony Elanga. Listen, I'll always get behind young players, and I think it wasn't his fault last season that he was thrown in far too often. I think he went about 18 games or something without a goal, just kept getting picked. At one point, he was getting picked ahead of Marcus Rashford, which now when you look at it, it's just ludicrous. I know Marcus Rashford's form last season was pretty shocking, but it's far more experience than Anthony Elanga, and we know what Marcus Rashford is capable of. I think the jury's out on Elanga, to say the least. Tasman says, Elanga needs to move permanently. Weekly Armchair Sports Talk says, good morning, Jay. Ozzy Gilbert says, Elanga good. Santa Notch says, Elanga move would make sense for him. Dave Grant says, United is 751 for the quadruple. Get on it. I love the optimism. Knight says he's better than Anthony Gordon. There you go. That's what he's saying about Anthony Elanga going to Everton. He's not a big... do you remember, weren't Chelsea in for Anthony Gordon in the summer for about 50 million quid or something? Yeah. Was it more than that, Eve? How much was it? 50 million. And then, like, Everton had none of it. And does he even get in a team anymore, Anthony Gordon? I know he came off the bench against us, didn't he? Adam McNeil says, send him to Borough to link up with Carrick. We'll take McNeil too, lol. I like Charlie McNeil. I think he could probably do with a low move, maybe, get some more minutes. I still think he's a season away from being in the Manchester United first team, but I think he's got a very bright future, very good goal scorer. I think he's one of those players that, you've got to be patient with. Not everyone is a sort of an 18, 19-year-old who comes straight into Manchester United's first team. So, yeah, I think there's a bright future ahead for him. I'll wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat. Thanks to Harry. I will go and have a look at that Facebook thing as well. We're going to be back later on. We've got a tactical analysis piece. Tactical analysis video with Stephen Howson and Joe Smith. So make sure you're checking that out. Me and Steve will be back later on today with The Brew as well. We'll be talking about our favourite Derby Day moments, with that big game tomorrow afternoon. It's my birthday tomorrow as well, just in case you're wondering. So I want a massive birthday present from the Reds when we go and batter those blue gits down the road. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the chat. See you in the next one.